Hello and welcome to another episode of Colorado Politicking. I'm your host, Pat Poblete, and this week we are focused solely on the story that's really reverberating in the Colorado political landscape, and that is that Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters and her deputy, Belinda Knisley, turned themselves into authorities on Wednesday afternoon, just hours after prosecutors released a 13-count grand jury indictment alleging the pair took part in what was quoted as a deceptive scheme to breach secure voting equipment. Political correspondent Ernest Luning has been covering this story head to toe for us. And Ernest, I want to bring you in now, but I don't want to start with the goings-on Wednesday. I want to kind of rewind just a little bit for maybe some of our viewers who aren't as on top of this news cycle as, say, you or I are covering this every day. What exactly is it that brought Tina Peters to our attention in the first place?
Well, Pat, what happened? This began last summer. It began when officials at the Colorado Secretary of State's office discovered that they discovered that passwords from Mesa County's voting equipment were posted on some voting conspiracy theory websites. Within days, it turned out that the entire hard drive from the election management system out there in Mesa County, which is the same system that's used in almost every other county in the state here. It's Dominion voting systems, which may be something people have heard of. That's voting equipment that's been at the heart of, what are basically unproven accusations that the 2020 election was rigged. What turned out was that in Mesa County, that the election equipment had been copied, and the more we learn about it, the more of kind of a more cloak and dagger the whole situation is. But initially last summer, the Secretary of State's office went in and said it appears there's been a security breach out here, and asked for some explanation from Tina Peters. Turns out she was actually on a jet up to South Dakota to take part in the MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell's cyber symposium, where they were going to present evidence, they said, of widespread voter fraud. Turns out that they didn't present any of that. They presented a lot of things that didn't really add up to anything. But one of the things they looked at was the fact that they were able to copy this entire hard drive out of Mesa County. What happened was the Mesa County Commission replaced all the voting equipment that because there had been a security breach out there. The Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, who's a Democrat, sued the county to prevent Tina Peters from being able to oversee the election in last year's off-year election. A judge agreed with her, and so did the Colorado Supreme Court, after seeing the evidence of what they were claiming she had done, which was helped a bunch of people get in and violate the election security protocols. It's gone on from there, and this story's had more twists and turns than a mountain road, winding up yesterday, where on Wednesday this week, when prosecutors released this multi-count indictment, including multiple felonies.
Now, Ernest, that I talked about a little bit in the intro. There was, I said, 13 counts that ended up being split, I believe, 10 counts for Tina Peters, 3 for her deputy. Can you dive into those a little bit? I think you were saying I might have that wrong.
Yeah, there was 10 for Tina Peters and 6 for her deputy. 3 of them were overlapping. There was some conspiracy charges that wound up with both of them named in those particular counts. But yeah, you're right. There's a number of felonies and there's some misdemeanors. Our friends out at the Grand Junction Daily Sentinel totaled it up, and Peters faces something like 28 years in jail if convicted of all of them, with the maximum sentences and given them consecutively, which, that's unlikely to happen. But just to say, these are serious charges. Some of Tina Peters's defenders have been saying, look, a lot of this stuff is just administrative things. One of the charges is failure to comply with the Secretary of State. That stems from when the Secretary of State's office sent some people out to Mesa County to try to determine to get to the bottom of what had happened. and Tina Peters refused, and so did others in her office. And that's the thing is she's the top election official for the county. The Secretary of State is the top election official for the state, and there are actual legal requirements for what you have to do. One of the charges including was first degree official misconduct. That's a misdemeanor. The others, though, and this is interesting, this is a new wrinkle. There was a charge for identity theft and criminal impersonation. And we're just getting the suggestion of what happened with this. But apparently, what the allegations are is that Tina Peters and Ms. Knisley said that someone else was there, used someone else's identity to create a pass key to get into the secure facility where they later were told copied the voting data. But what they did was they fingered a local gentleman who said he had nothing to do with this, and they were using his name. So as this progresses, we'll see if we can find out who that actually was in the room.
So moving on from the legal side, if you will, to this, I think one of the interesting and I guess covered angles to this story, you wrote about it a little bit on Wednesday, kind of has to do with the fact that Tina Peters is in fact still a candidate to run for Secretary of State. So I'm curious, what has she said about her candidacy in the aftermath of all of this?
Well, she declared that she's running against Jenna Griswold, which came as no surprise. She's been challenging Griswold, from the get-go, saying that she had no authority over her, and claiming that it was a partisan witch hunt, this entire prosecution. And she's sticking with that argument. She's staying in the race. She declared it was almost a month ago that she jumped in the race, and so what happened on Wednesday is leadership with the Colorado Republican Party put out a statement saying, we think Tina Peters ought to suspend her campaign. These are serious charges. This was an indictment handed down by a grand jury, these chosen from the pool of folks who voted for Tina Peters as county clerk 4 years ago. This isn't some Denver grand jury coming after her. These are her friends and neighbors. And on top of that, it's a Republican district attorney, Dan Rubenstein, who brought the charges and has been among the authorities pursuing investigations into Peters. The FBI is also involved, it should be noted. But so the Republican Party said, it's time for you to suspend your campaign. This is a distraction from what the Republicans believe is going to be a banner year. They're looking at a red wave where Republicans are going to win some seats that they haven't even effectively challenged in years here in Colorado. And the state Republicans, including Chairwoman Christy Burton Brown, said, Tina, let's put yourself on the sidelines while you're still facing these issues. Tina is having none of that. She says that the entire prosecution is a conspiracy between Democrats and Republicans who don't like Donald Trump, and that they want someone who's not as strong as she is to win the nomination for Secretary of State. So they're trying that this whole indictment, all these prosecutions, all these investigations are part of a plot to push her off stage. So, and she's not having any of it.
So, Ernest, one thing that I was also curious about when it comes to that is, in your sense, and talking to folks on the campaign trail, talking to your sources, where are Republicans largely falling on the spectrum in terms of, now that there is a split between the state party and Tina Peters, where are folks more comfortable throwing their support in, throwing their hat in the ring, if you will?
Well, it's early. It's still too early to tell. Both sides have their vocal defenders. Danielle Neuschwanger, who's one of the leading candidates for governor, said yesterday that Tina Peters is fully justified in staying in the race. She's innocent until proven guilty, and the party bosses are not gonna push her onto the sidelines. Someone else, one of the leading candidates for U.S. Senate, hoping to challenge Michael Bennett in the fall. Eli Bremer, former county chair in El Paso County, he said yesterday that, you know what, innocent till proven guilty, but that's the rule in court. It's not the rule on the ballot. And he thinks that Tina Peters ought to also suspend her campaign. You know, county assemblies are in full swing this month. We're not going to get to the state assembly where we're going to see whether or not Tina Peters has the support she needs to get on the primary ballot. For actually, it's a month from yesterday. It's April 9th. You know, so we may not know for a while what's going on. And one thing I think we can count on is there's going to be more news about Tina Peters in the weeks ahead.
I think another thing that we can count on is that you'll be covering that news pretty comprehensively. So Ernest, thank you for coming on and sharing the story that went and upturned your Wednesday. I'm sure you had other things on your agenda, but you covered it head to toe. Like I said at the beginning, excellent work. If you want to read some of Ernest's stories, they're right below us if you're watching on coloradopolitics.com. If not, you can click over there and find them. For Ernest, I've been Pat. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we will see you again next week.